Hello everyone, my name is Keith Ellison. I'm the Attorney General for the state of Minnesota. I'm joined by my colleagues who I'm very proud of today, Lindsay Middlecamp and Brian Carter, who stood up in front of the court today and made the case for Minnesota that our state has every right to have our own laws, have our own policies, and that the federal government doesn't have any right to try to flood us, threaten us with retribution, and to coerce the state of Minnesota into complying with Trump policy. At the end of the day, I stand here with Renee Good in my heart and in my mind, and with Alex Preddy in my heart, in my mind, and their families. Together with other people who have suffered racial profiling, unfair detention, together with every business person whose business has been shuttered because of this, on behalf of every student and every parent who can't get their kids to school because they are afraid of the federal government, and on behalf of our city partners in Minneapolis-St. Paul who have incurred tremendous increase in costs responding to this ICE escalation. They tell us, and this is their words, this is the single largest deployment of immigration officers in one place at one time, in a state that is not even in the top of immigration. What justifies this disproportionate flood? Nothing legitimate, but the president has been clear. Retribution, he's been clear. He's going to, we didn't vote for him. He was really salty about that. And it's unjustified and illegal. And we are praying for the relief that the state of Minnesota needs from the court. And I want to thank the court for listening so carefully. And I just want to thank all of the lawyers and all the staff who came before us today. I'll give my colleagues a chance to make any comment they want, and then we'll answer a few questions. Then we got to get back to work.
We got the opportunity today to make our case in court. I think we made a strong one. The federal government has not denied our allegation of pervasive and widespread illegal conduct by these 3,000 federal agents who are masked and heavily armed. And we hope that the court will respond to our request for an immediate injunction.
I just want to take a moment and say thank you to the courageous people of Minnesota and the courageous local media in particular, and the legal observers and the many who are documenting many of the facts that we have found so fundamental to bringing this case to court. We can't simply ask the court to look around or look outside. We have to bring that story into the courtroom. And every day, the courage of people who have come to our office, come to the ACLU, and come to other attorneys to help put those stories to paper or to photos or to videos, it's been critical. And so thank you to everyone who is doing that courageous part of us bringing something that's both profoundly constitutional but also profoundly human to a courtroom.
So folks, I respect you, believe that. But we do have a bunch of work that we got to get back to the office to do. So we're going to take about 5 or 6 questions and just contact Brian Evans at my office if we need to do any follow-up. Brian Evans, brian.evans@ag.state.mn.us. So we're going to have to go in a minute. We'll answer a few, but then reach out to Brian.
Mr. Attorney General, if I could just ask you, the judge seemed to focus on a couple of things, Pam Bondi's letter, and also the president's social media post about a day of retribution. She appeared, especially with talking about the Pam Bondi letter, she appeared critical. Is that the way you saw it, and do you think those two things are helping your case?
Let me just say, I think that the judge is incredibly bright and is focusing on the critical issues. I'm not sure what to conclude or based on her questions, but it appeared to me, and I got the sense that she understood the issues very well. And I'll just say on my own behalf that the Pam Bondi letter it kind of reveals what this is all about. This is not about fraud, and it's not even about immigration, and it's certainly not about law enforcement. It's about handing over documents of the state of Minnesota, private information, including voting information, to the federal government. That's what this is about. And that's why we're fighting it.
Do you mind just briefly summarizing what the legal argument was, both the retribution argument and then the 10th Amendment argument that it prevents the state from conducting its own public safety, public health? Just can you put that in a nutshell, what you expanded on in court, just to help us out?
I'll let my colleague jump in here.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So I'll respond mainly with just describing the coercion argument. So basically, our Constitution creates a split sovereignty, right? We have the federal government as one sovereign state, and then we have the several states who are separate sovereigns. Critical to that, and in a series of rulings from the Supreme Court, is that the federal government cannot coerce the states into legislating, and they cannot conscript state officers or state employees into administering a federal program. And that is exactly what we have here, is this surge is directed at forcing the state and our municipal parties to legislate and forcing them to participate. Now, whether a state wants to do that is a different story, but the issue is, and this is a critical issue with separation of powers that has been fundamental to our stable republic for the last 250 years, is that the feds can't boss the states around. And that's exactly what we see in the Bondi letter, is that's what they're trying to accomplish here. And I should add, too, that they've tried to get these results in court. And we've gone to court, and we've fought them, and we've won, and we're continuing to win. But what they couldn't accomplish with the rule of law in court, now they're trying to accomplish with force in the streets. And that's a big risk to our government.
No, wait a minute. This gentleman in the blue coat was, yeah. He's the one who dragged me down here to talk to y'all. So give him a thanks.
Do you have a sense for when she'll rule, and if she doesn't rule in your favor, is there any other off-ramp for the state and the cities?
I'll let my colleagues jump in on this one. The first one, I don't know when the court will rule. Obviously, we hope it's soon, but the court, this judge is known for her care and excellent attention to detail. And so she rules when she rules. On the other one, we're never going to stop defending Minnesota. If things go our way, great. If they don't, we're right back to the drawing board. The moment will never arrive when we stop fighting for this state. Full stop. I don't know if you guys want to say anything about that.
Just from a procedural standpoint, if the court were to either grant or deny the relief that we're seeking, this is a very preliminary stage of a lawsuit. It does not mean that the lawsuit is being decided on the merits. And so the case will progress regardless of what happens after today.
Good. Yep.
Your reaction to the question, if there's a line, where is it? Based on what you've seen.
Well, here's the thing. If we were talking about a statute from Congress that said, you states have to do what we say, then we really wouldn't be having much of a debate. It would clearly be commandeering. But what if instead of a statute saying you must do this, I go get 4,000 people and drop them into the middle of your state and start basically pushing you around and causing chaos? Can they achieve, with force and coercion and armed mass men on the street, what they couldn't achieve with a coercive statute? We say no. And so from my standpoint, once they decided that this is retribution against Minnesota and we're going to make you do it our way because we're the federal government and you're not, once they did that, they crossed the line. After that, they filled in more. They got a bunch of people to intimidate us, shot up 3 people, killed 2 of them. But at the end of the day, this is coercion, federal overreach, and it started when they decided to do that, in my mind. So I'll just say that I heard the number that they started out with 80 ICE agents. Did you hear that? Status quo was 80. We're somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000. If it's 4,000, that's a 4,900% increase. Now, if there's such thing as too many, 4,900% increase has got to be too many. But the number is not really the issue for me. The number is how they're achieving their original illegal decision to coerce us. But they did it through, I don't know, social media posts, all these people on the street. All this stuff amounts to coercion, and it's got to stop, and I pray it stops right away. One more question, don't be mad at me, but he was loudest, so he gets the last question. And he's from North Dakota, so we got to be nice to our cousins.
Wilson, North Dakota wants to know how much this decision here would affect the country, the nation, because you're talking about sovereignty.
Right.
Sovereignty of individual states.
That's right.
How important is this decision that this judge makes today, or when she makes it, to the sovereignty of individual states in the country?
This decision is extremely important to the sovereignty of every single state. This decision is critically important, but as Lindsay mentioned, whatever is decided here we're asking for preliminary relief. The case will go on, but what is decided in Minnesota overall, this case and everything that we're doing to try to protect our state has great ramifications for the rest of the country.
What relief are you asking for specifically?
Well, we think that we should go back to status quo.
Which would be 80?
Well, but I'm not going to lock in on a number. I'm going to say we were doing immigration enforcement before Operation Metro Surge. It was happening. It was functioning. Nobody ever complained that we weren't doing immigration enforcement. This unjustified escalation is an intrusion. But what are we asking for? I'd be happy to go back to status quo, and that what makes sense to me. So with that, everybody, sorry guys.
I heard from your governor who said that
Oh yeah, wait a minute. Brian's going to add something else too.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing to that very important question. What does this mean to the country? And this is such a fundamental structural power issue about our government that now is approaching its 250th birthday, right? So this is what I would say to everybody. What if the next administration on the other side of the political spectrum decides to do this exact same strong-arm statute, but comes after Minnesota's Kerry statute? This isn't just immigration. This is about all of our fundamental liberties and rights.
Thank you, Brian.
Mr. Ellison, can I ask you about your governor? He said he had a conversation with President Trump today. He said that they agreed to reduce, potentially, the number of federal agents in the state to work closely with cooperation and to work towards a joint investigation into the shooting on Saturday. Would that satisfy you?
All I saw was a social media post.
This is coming directly from Governor Walz.
I know, but I haven't heard it from him. So I can tell you that I do plan on checking with the governor very soon, and I'll be able to answer that question once I get the facts. But I've learned in my 62 years answering questions that I don't know the facts about is a bad idea. So we'll see everybody later. Thank you very much.